How many women friends have shared stories being dismissed, degraded, defiled, visual expressions of such.
I was feeling so hopeless and so helpless. And so when I started thinking about, well, what can I do? Art. I invited Gail Enns to help curate the show. She got more artists involved, and we now have this incredible compilation of work that is really expressive of the woman's voice. Are you good and mad? Then do something about it. Let's make some art. Let's make some waves.
My piece is called Earth Mother. It was my reaction to this feeling that we have forgotten how to connect with our environment and take care of it, and how that's part of a lot of the legislation that's coming out. There's about 25 artists here that all kind of came through to talk about their experiences in being women, just kind of being vulnerable and putting themselves out there and connecting with this call to attention and to action and to caring for each other.
The name of this piece is The Rape of Themis, Goddess of Justice. The inspiration for this piece goes back to Dr. Blasey Ford's testimony before the Supreme Court. The original image in my head was of Dr. Blasey Ford being sworn in with her hand raised. My thought was to have a hand covering her mouth. Worked with the image of the Supreme Court, the 5 Supreme Court justices, which represent the conservative side of the court. There are no more swing justices anymore. I have them surrounding her, ripping the scales of justice out of her hands. But I did want to have her fight back a little bit. I took the blindfold off one eye so that she can see that it is actually her own justices that are betraying her.
Fascinated by, first of all, how long women and men throughout the centuries have tried to create contraception. And so on this piece I have things like, the first cervical cap, which was made of stone, and IUDs made of metal. I wanted to collage it into the symbol of the American flag because, well, it represents our country, and our country really, we like to think of ourselves as far ahead of the curve, really progressive when it comes to everything. And when you look at what's happening to women's choices around reproductive rights, I don't know that I'd be waving our flag.
I just am sickened by taking away our environmental protection and the possible fracking and the denial of science. I wanted to show the sort of brokenness and loss in the bird. This is fire damage. I think it's very quiet and internal. I think that's sort of how I work.
She really represents for me, the self has to have layers, it has to have protection, it has to have an immune system to heal. Who could understand the hiding, shame, and blame? Finding your new voice, that new self after terrible, utter, naked exploitation.
It comes from visiting what was called at that time Emancipation Park, which is where the Charlottesville I like to think of it as actually a riot and murder, occurred in August of 2017. The statue, which is 26 feet high, was wrapped in black plastic. That's how the city of Charlottesville had dealt with it. And I just kept thinking about the metaphors of it, and sort of a mourning shroud for Heather Heyer, who'd been killed, and Ku Klux Klan, and sort of shrouding all the hate that's simmering under the surface and all of that.
As a scientist, one of the pressures that I feel right now, especially within this election cycle, is the pressure against science. This is over at Hopkins Marine Station in Pacific Grove. And what you have here is the prediction for 10 years from now for this spot at Hopkins. Monterey Bay, the water in our area is supposed to rise. This is predictions from the Naval Postgraduate School. And they predict that at high tides during a storm event, the waves are going to come in and swamp the buildings.
I call them constructs. I'm really inspired by women like Eva Hesse. She was one of the first women in American, 20th century that really reflected on her freedom to choose the kinds of tools and things to make. That it didn't have to be, if you were a sculptor, for instance, you had to do cast in bronze or your classically beautifully stone. Why not use recycled materials? I'm a survivor of sexual assault. It happened when I was in my 20s. Even though they're non-representational, the colors are very striking and could also translate into, for instance, racial issues, because one is black and one is white. They're also non-representational, so they're interpretive. They can be what you ever would want to be. And then the titles, this one's called Patience. I thought this one would be good because it takes a lot of patience to move with society if society sometimes isn't doing things for the benefit of everyone. This title here is called Shadows Major and Minor. A lot of times women tend to be in the background, but if you have a voice, it doesn't matter what your sex is. You can not have to be a shadow. You can be a major or a minor or both. So I like that shadows, major and minor, isn't necessarily derogatory, but it could be embraced.
It's called 10-6. Which is the date of the Kavanaugh hearings. Dr. Ford was so articulate and clear and real and raw about everything, and it brought up a lot of feelings for me. And then watching how the Republicans responded and the anger that came up and the accusations that came up shocked me. Well, it didn't shock me, it pissed me off. I felt that she was drowning. We are all drowning in this patriarchal denial of our freedom and our rights and our voices. And so this piece kind of came fully to fruition after that.
What inspired the piece was the political climate and what was going on with the Kavanaugh hearings. I had this visceral reaction to it. I just wanted to film myself dancing. I don't even understand why I wanted to entirely, so I'm working through the process. It just felt like I should be myself aggressively. They exist as videos on YouTube, so I just wanted to put them out there without looking at them and let them be what they were. The best thing was that people responded positively, that specifically women my age and older were coming up to me and telling me that the piece that they watched at home on YouTube, made them feel something, made them respond. They felt a response to the work. I think it's silly, it's ridiculous, it's on the internet, it's me dancing, but that just showed me that my gut reaction, that my instinct was on the right path.
I go to the library. I am drawn to this book. I need to talk to this woman right now. Isabella had a long-standing preoccupation with truth. As a girl, she had been beaten and sexually abused. As an enslaved worker, her word had been subject to disbelief. A visual expression of how these last 2 years have been and as a litigant reclaiming her honesty, she was liable to be doubted in situations of the utmost seriousness. This condition, scabs pulled off over and over. That's been our year with the predatory puppet. Rape and pillage every day.